during these unexcused absences only during the moratorium period during years that the Texas legislature is in session. Current arrangements create a financial incentive to break quorum. HB18 establishes clear restrictions to ensure there is no financial benefit while breaking quorum. It prohibits members absent from the state without an excused absence from quorum-breaking purposes from accepting contributions larger than the daily legislative per diem or from paying for travel-related expenses with campaign funds. The bill authorizes civil penalties of up to $5,000 per violation, with enforcement through district court proceedings and exclusive appellate jurisdiction in the Fifth Court of Appeals. This proposed legislation will help discourage financial gain from excused absences. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions and reserve the right to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will start with questions, and we'll open up to any other members who have questions.
Yep.
Just to be clear, this bill is about limiting the acceptance of campaign contributions and the expenditures of political funds from members of the legislature who are absent from the state for the purpose of their constitutional protected quorum break. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
Breaking quorum is a long-established tool used by the minority in Texas, be it a minority party or a minority who disagreed on a particular measure. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Are you familiar with quorum break in 1870? It's Texas history here, when 13 senators walked out to block a bill granting the governor wartime powers?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, but there's the Constitution is clear in the manner in which it's written. It recognizes that quorums will happen, and that's why there are provisions to address the quorum, such as using law enforcement to compel those legislators to return to the state capitol.
Well, yeah, no, I've read. In fact, I have it here. But I guess what I'm getting at is first just establishing the history and right to quorum breaking. I mean,
Article 3 establishes it, yes.
Yeah, so you would agree that we have a constitutional right to quorum break.
Article 3, Section 10 and 11 addresses it. Section 10 actually talks about the quorum. 11 actually talks about punishments that can be applied.
Sure. I don't disagree that there's a section on punishments. I'm just getting at the right of quorum break to the purpose of this bill.
No, quorum break is not the purpose of the bill. The purpose of the bill is to stop the financial gain of those who are breaking quorum. So the bill does not do anything as far as limiting the ability to actually do a quorum break.
I mean, major moments, we referenced 1870, 1979, the famous killer bees. 2003, Senate Dems broke quorum on a redistricting map. You were around in 2021 when myself and other members broke quorum over the voter suppression bill. And then
I'm
now,
not familiar with that bill.
Now we have this recent quorum break. I'm just saying, it's fair to say that throughout history, this has been a tactic used in Texas history, wouldn't you agree?
The Constitution, Texas Constitution has provisions in it to address quorum breaks, including using civil arrests and law enforcement to compel members to return to the Capitol. So it's recognized in the Constitution.
Yes. So you would agree then with the Texas Supreme Court in their ruling from 2021 when they affirmed that the Texas Constitution, and this is their language, enables quorum breaking by a minority faction of the legislature. I've got it written here. It's page 4, section A of that ruling from 2021, where they say that the Texas Constitution enables quorum breaking by a minority faction of the legislature. You agree with that ruling by the Texas Supreme Court?
This bill has nothing to do with limit somebody's ability to break quorum. What it does do is it works to prevent members from benefiting financially during quorum break.
I'm getting to that. I just want to make sure first we understand the history of quorum break to understand where penalties then come from. So you do agree with the Texas Supreme Court?
I agree that the minority has a mechanism to break quorum. That's very clear in the Constitution.
So let me ask you then, if that's true, wouldn't we expect the voters to hold those members accountable at the ballot box?
I think that's one item that you can call out for sure. I think the voters also don't want members of the legislature that are breaking quorum to raise money off of that.
Well, I don't know if we agree with that. I mean, were any members voted out to your
I heard
knowledge
from my
because of quorum
constituents,
break?
they were very upset that there was fundraising by quorum making.
By the lieutenant governor or by the members that were?
My constituents.
No, I'm saying there was fundraising going on by all people, right? I don't know if you had a fundraiser. I know the lieutenant governor
I
did.
did not.
You're saying they were upset about, this is relevant because
Sure.
I want to get to fundraising in
What my
general in a minute. I'm
constituents
trying
were
to lead us
upset
to that.
about was people that were just disrupting the legislative process while raising funds.
But they were okay
There was
with-
frustration with that.
They're okay with people in a special session fundraising though.
They did not raise that as a concern. Again, the specific concern that I heard was people disrupting the legislative process, breaking quorum, and raising money from that action.
Let me ask you this. The U.S. Supreme Court has made it clear that political contributions and expenditures are protected political speech. Is that not
That
correct?
is accurate, yeah.
So you do agree then with that ruling? So I guess my question is, if you agree with that ruling, would you agree it's possible that this bill would unlawfully limit?
No, there's
Protected speech?
No, there's court rulings that limitations can very much be applied, such as our moratorium when we're in session.
But we're now expanding that scope pretty dramatically.
No.
We're
I would
saying
disagree with
certain
that.
members, we're going to treat some members different from other members.
No, not really.
Are we not?
No.
So your bill will limit all people from fundraising if a quorum breaks?
No, these are individuals that raise money while they're breaking quorum. So all the individuals, regardless of party, regardless of stance, or any type of item that way, anybody that's breaking quorum will not be able to raise political contributions because they're disrupting the legislative process.
But then we will be treating some members of the body different from other members of the body. Is that correct?
I mean, you're not really. I mean, again, this is focused on the individuals that are breaking quorum. They can't raise money when they've left the state and they're disrupting the legislative process.
What if they're
So
breaking
all of
quorum
them are
in
the
the state?
bucket that are, what's that?
What if they're breaking quorum in the state?
If you're disrupting the legislative process, you can't raise money. If you're breaking quorum.
I guess I'm concerned if we have a constitutional right that you agree with to
There's
fundraise.
clear precedent that you can place limits. I mean, we place limits on
Sure.
dollar amounts federally. We place limits on when we can raise funds. We place limits.
So
on
you're
not
okay
being
with
able
placing
to
limits?
Receive funds from corporations. There's plenty of precedent where we place limits.
So you're okay with the idea of placing limits at times?
I'm in support of the approach where individuals that break quorum are not able to financially benefit from that action and raise campaign funds.
Yes. So the concern I'm hearing though is you agree as a constitutional right to fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
We're now going to create two classes: those that are choosing to also use their right to break quorum versus those that aren't.
There's a premise that legislators shouldn't benefit from their position. And so I would look at this along the lines of you have legislators that are benefiting from their position and actions that they're taking, disrupting the legislative process of the Texas legislature. There's clear precedent.
So you're
for that.
saying it's more like a penalty?
No, it's just, it's, if you look at the integrity of the body, right, I think the integrity of the body is challenged if you have individuals that have a financial gain, financial benefit from disrupting the legislative process.
Would members still at the Capitol, when there's not a quorum, be able to go fundraise under this bill and hold fundraisers and maybe hold a fundraiser on hemp or go hold a fundraiser on some other issue that's before the body
Outside the moratorium?
during this special session when you are
Yeah, there's
restricting
no,
it for members?
there are no current limits. The only limit as far as when you can or cannot raise funds, current in statute, is just during the moratorium. So 30 days before the start of session and 20 days after.
Yeah, but we're
that.
creating a new limit for a small group of our colleagues, correct? We're going to create two
we
classes.
are working to prohibit members from financially benefiting from disrupting the Texas legislature.
Thus, we will allow others to continue to financially benefit at the same time, correct?
If they follow if they don't disrupt the legislative process, they can raise money.
Chairman Sheen, can you walk me through the contribution a legislature can and cannot accept while absent under this bill? What are the limits?
Say it again?
Under your bill, if it was to become law,
Yeah.
what will the limits be for fundraising during a quorum break?
Oh, it just states.
I'm just trying to get to the
There's no,
specifics of the bill.
so page 1 says there's no contribution. You can't make a contribution or make a reimbursement of expenditure on behalf of a quorum breaker. Page 2 states that a quorum breaker cannot accept contributions. Page 2, section B says you can't use campaign dollars for items such as travel, food, lodging, and I think that's it.
So I just want to be clear, this bill will limit quorum breakers, which we've already acknowledged have a right to quorum break, fundraising. Does it put any limits on the executive? Because like, can Governor Abbott go host a fundraiser with pro-voucher groups while we're doing this?
I don't think the governor can break quorum.
I'm asking if we're treating the executive separately under this bill.
This is just for members.
Because during the legislative session,
This is just for members of the legislature that are.
during the legislative
breaking
session,
quorum.
it's all of us. It's the executive, it's statewide, right?
But again,
We're
it's
following the
addressing
executive,
concerns
it's
that people
the
have
legislature.
expressed of individuals that are benefiting financially from breaking quorum.
Do you think there's a risk of the governor or any member back here fundraising while there's bills before the body and other members not being able to be treated the same way?
Is there concern about what now?
Members that are still at the Capitol fundraising while there are bills before the body.
Are they disrupting the legislative process, or are they?
Well, I'm just asking
I
generically.
mean, if you want to file a bill that says you're not allowed to raise funds during special sessions,
Would you
I think
support
you
that?
should file it. Well, let me see how you write it.
Well, I'm glad you asked. I just want to make notice that I will have committee amendments
Okay.
for this
Sure.
bill to do just that. And I
Okay.
hope this body will understand that if we think, one, fundraising could be a problem during legislative duties such as quorum break, then that should probably be equal across all. And so I hope, as we saw from Paul Bedencourt yesterday and Senator Carol Alvarado calling for that, I think if we're going to pass a bill like this, we shouldn't get into multi-class. We should make sure the executive and all the legislature is treated equally. So I'll have those amendments. And with that, unless you have a response to that, I want to
mean,
make
only
sure I
mis-
give notice to the committee about
Sure,
that.
no, I think HB18 is trying to address and fix a certain problem with is the financial gain that members are receiving for disrupting the legislative process. So I think the question you might have to ask yourself is your proposed amendments in alignment with the objective of HB18 or not?
I think you bring up a concern about money among members during the legislative process, and I will say I share that concern, so I want to make sure we expand it across the board.
Yeah, and I would also advise to ensure that you're in alignment with the governor's call.
Well, has that ever stopped us before? Members, any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Busey.
Representative
It's
Plesser.
okay.
No,
Sorry.
I'm gonna wait.
Ladies first.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Chairman Wilson. Chairman Shaheen, I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Some of them kind of piggyback off of what Vice Chair Busey was saying. So do you agree, first of all, that quorum breaking is explicitly contemplated already under the Texas Constitution and that the House already has the authority to discipline members without judicial involvement?
The Article 3 of the Constitution, Sections 10 and 11 address quorum and also the applicable punishment that can be applied towards members that interfere with the quorum process. So by the nature of the fact that that's in the Texas Constitution, yes, the Constitution recognizes that quorums might be broken.
And that the House has the ability to punish members for doing so, correct?
through the rulemaking, yeah.
So then, by your own admission, quorum breaking is constitutional. That means that House Bill 18 punishes lawmakers for exercising a constitutional tactic.
It's not
And-
HB 18, again, what it does is it's addressing the problem of members financially, making a financial gain from disrupting the legislative process. And so it's stopping, prohibiting the action of being able to make financial gain. That's what the bill's doing.
Okay, and the tactic by doing so is dragging the courts into political disputes that the Constitution already reserves is the privy of the House. So I guess my question to you is,
Actually, in 2023,
why are we inviting
created-
the courts
Actually-
into legislative?
Actually, in 2023, we created the court that's mentioned here for state disputes.
Okay. So essentially what we're saying then is we're letting the courts enforce filings of absence without leave?
Well,
Aren't we inviting judges
No,
into legislative strategy and
no,
intent?
I think members need due process. And so there is a process that's outlined here as far as if a member determines by statement of fact that individuals are financially benefiting from disrupting the legislative process, that they can bring that to the attention of the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House, and that starts a process that's, due process, and we would hope that all Texans have due process.
But the enforcement requires courts to examine the motive. Whether a member left to impede business, that forces judges to interpret legislative intent and political strategy, which the Constitution explicitly protects under speech and debate. I'm going to move on and ask you a little bit about
But I
the
will
donor
say
risk.
that it doesn't go to the courts unless the body makes a determination based on statement of fact that somebody benefited financially from a quorum break.
So
So there's
what,
a step before the courts get involved.
what would we say to our constituents, a constituent to gives to a representative during the quorum break, not knowing about their per diem cap, and suddenly they're finding themselves caught in a legal dispute?
Well, I mean, when you're making contributions, I would encourage donors to ensure that they're following state statute, like the current statutes that are in place with restrictions to donations. There's some that already exist, and individuals that are making donations should ensure that they are following those statutes.
Is it the intent of this bill to make those constituents, those donors, collateral damage?
No, the
this
intent of the
bill?
bill is to stop individuals from financially benefiting from disrupting the legislative process in the state of Texas.
So then why are we bypassing the Texas Ethics Commission instead of using the existing Title 15 framework?
It's not. Why do you say it's bypassing the Ethics Commission?
Because we're
You have to-
taking the punishment mechanism out of the Texas Ethics Commission and we're moving it into a court system.
It does go to the court system because there's if you read the way the bill is drafted, there's a sense of urgency as far as making a determination whether there was a violation of this proposed statute. But the Texas Ethics Commission is still involved. I mean, the bill references like the per diem amount that's established by the Ethics Commission, and so.
It feels like this is becoming a bill that's political, and that's why I'm asking about the TEC and whether or not you trust it in the current system.
There's an issue with speed. So if you notice that the court has to move within 72 hours, and so there's a speed issue here. There's also a provision that you can't. It references Section 30.003 of the Civil Practices and Remedy Codes. That doesn't apply. So that's the legislative continuance. So the structure of this bill is to resolve this issue in a rapid fashion, which if you could probably understand given that special sessions are typically 30 days.
So the way I read the TEC rules, basically contribution caps are typically tied to some type of corruption and the risks that apply to that. So to keep it equally, I guess what I'm saying is that quorum breaking now is being punished as a political tactic. Are you saying that quorum breaking is a form of corruption.
The intent of this legislation is to prohibit legislators from financially benefiting from breaking quorum.
Okay, so I guess once again, I just want to go back to the vagueness of this and the kind of the language that was being used. So we're using vague language like word or deed, I guess. And how are we going to make sure that people understand their First Amendment
That'll be a
right?
determination by the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House and the member that brings it forward.
Do you think that this law is closing a loophole?
I think it's addressing a concern of constituents across the state of Texas. I've heard from my constituents. They believe it challenges the integrity of the legislature when members can disrupt the legislative process and benefit financially.
Okay, I guess I just want to go back to the duplication
Duplicative?
of enforcement, right?
Yep.
So we're talking about this bill is going to add the courts as a punishing factor on top of what we're already doing within the House, right? So compelling attendance, that's a means to
This
get
bill doesn't
members,
compel attendance.
but it's saying that if you quorum break, these are the
This bill,
punishments. So
you
if
can
the
quorum
Constitution
break all
already
you-
gives us
this-
tools to compel attendance,
This
discipline, and even use other maneuvers, why is
This bill does not compel members to break a quorum. What this bill does is it addresses the issue of members benefiting financially from a quorum break. This bill does not compel a quorum.
But if members misuse campaign funds, that belongs within the Texas Ethics Commission, not the courts. Do you agree?
What this bill is doing is it's preventing the expenditure of campaign funds for when an individual that's breaking quorum is using campaign funds for lodging, food, and the like. They won't be able to do that if they're breaking quorum during a special.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about viewpoint discrimination.
Okay.
Doesn't this effectively punish viewpoint discrimination?
It
Political
doesn't
viewpoint?
punish. It prohibits the financial gain of members benefiting while breaking quorum.
Okay, so was this bill filed specifically because Democrats love to break quorum?
Because Democrats, did you say love to break quorum?
Left to break
Oh.
quorum. Well, I mean,
It's, I filed the bill because my constituents were irate that they were getting up every morning and getting their kids ready to go to school. They were going to their jobs. They were making their commitments. And legislators here weren't making their commitments. And worst case, even worse, they were benefiting financially. They were questioning the integrity of the Texas legislature that members can break quorum and benefit financially from doing so. That's where this bill came from.
well, I guess that could be said for your constituents, but I think that there are other constituents that were letting their representative know that they wanted them to use all legislative tools available to them, whether in the majority or the minority party, to make sure that their viewpoints are being heard, right?
But I
So
think that's
everybody knows the
separate, so
backdrop
I think
of
if
this
you-
bill.
I think
And
if you have constituents that are happy that you broke quorum, I think it's a separate question whether those constituents are happy that there's certain members that benefit financially. I think you have to separate those two.
But under the First Amendment right, we know that constituents have availability to support their representative in any manner they see fit. And so I guess what I'm asking again is that, is this viewpoint retaliation, is this bill an attempt to retaliate
Nope.
because of disagreement in viewpoints?
This bill does not retaliate against anybody.
All right, thank you, Chairman.
You bet.
Members, any other questions? All right. Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions, we will proceed to testimony.
Reserve my right to close.
Yes, sir. We reserve your right to close. And The chair calls Lauren Pena. We show you registered as Lauren Pena on behalf of yourself and the Travis County Republican Party. And is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you will be testifying for the bill.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Hi, my name is Lauren Pena. I'm here today to test in favor of this bill. Not only did the quorum breaking really affect me because I'm a candidate for United States Congress, it also affected the taxpayers of the state of Texas. When the second session had to be called, it cost the taxpayers over $1 million. I feel like that was political grand larceny to the state of Texas. I'm very disappointed that the people that we put in office were not here, and the ones that were not capable to make the decisions that they needed to make that was called by the governor. And so I'm in favor of this bill because I think that it is horrific that while my constituents, because I am an elected precinct chair right now, we're sitting in our apartment and I have a person in the third floor who's in a wheelchair and couldn't leave to get groceries, you guys are taking off private planes, flying up to Illinois, staying in hotels, and eating luxury dinners. Now I find out you're sitting here fundraising while you're doing it. I'm completely appalled. The state of Texas is completely appalled. And I thank you, Representative Shaheen, for bringing up this bill, and I support you. Thank you so much.
Members, any questions? Yes, Representative Palesa.
Thank you so much for coming and testifying today. Who sets the agenda for the special?
The governor.
And who sets the calendar for every day?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So the people who set the calendar are usually in the majority party. So they're the ones that set the priorities for the agenda, correct? Okay. Do you believe in the Texas Constitution?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that the minority party has an opportunity to use all legislative tools available to them to represent their constituents?
I absolutely do believe that, but I feel like that should be during a normal session. When we're going and doing a special session that's only 30 days long, I feel like it's ridiculous to expect for half of that time the Democrats can just go flee to another state and fundraise.
It's not just the Democrats. Anybody can break quorum.
But the Democrats are the only ones that did it. They were the only ones that were preventing flood relief. They were the only ones that were preventing these inevitable maps to be passed.
Maybe in Texas, but in D.C., a bunch of Republicans left because they didn't want to vote on the Epstein files. So do you agree with that? Their
Absolutely
ability
not,
to
but
do
was
that?
it a special session or was it a regular session?
It doesn't matter. Legislative sessions are
My
legislative
argument is
sessions.
that it does matter because the special
Okay.
session is only 30 days
So I
long.
asked the questions. I'm going to continue asking them. So you say that they were not capable. The members that were here were not capable of doing their work. What work were they not capable of doing?
They were unable to pass the bill on the floor because there wasn't a quorum.
What bill?
Any bills that were brought up. And
What
passed
bill
in the
was brought
committee.
up?
The redistricting bill, the flood relief bill.
No, flood bills were not brought up. It was only the redistricting bill.
So you're
So-
saying that the flood bills were not part of it?
And I'm saying the flood bills were not the priority of
Well,
this
that's
body, unfortunately.
Okay, but then when you guys realized that that was a priority, why not come back to the state of Texas?
Because that wasn't what was on the agenda. However, you understand that this bill would then prohibit anybody ever in the minority party from using their constitutional rights. So let's just fast
This bill
forward
does
in
not
30
prevent someone
years.
to use their constitutional
Let's
rights.
just
This
say in
prevents
30,
people
it
from going
punishes
fundraising.
them. It punishes
Members,
them within
let's
the
make
courts.
sure we're one person talking at a time.
So let's just say in 30 years, when the Democrats flip this state, you're going to be okay with these penalties being imposed on anyone who's trying to break quorum because they don't want to restrict guns in the United States, to expand a woman's right to choose in the state. You're going to be okay with that. And you're going to come back and you're going to testify in favor of that, right?
My perspective is that it is perfectly right to use a quorum break to be the minority party and fight for what you believe in. But I do not believe that during a special session, you should be allowed to leave half of that time to fly to another state and fundraise. No.
What
And
about in a regular session? Are you okay to use a quorum break in a regular session?
Absolutely. Use the powers that the Constitution allows
So
you
you
to
don't
do,
think
but
that
do
this
not go
bill
and
should
fund.
apply?
Are you going to let me finish?
So you don't think this? No, because what you're saying is actually very interesting, and I might. So you're saying that this bill should only apply to special sessions and not regular sessions.
I actually am kind of in favor of that, yes. Because the fact of the matter is that the special session is only 30 days long, and you guys were gone for 2 weeks. So that's half of the special session.
Okay.
And it cost the taxpayers $1.2 million to do this second special session.
Okay.
Did you get a vote on that it was okay for the taxpayers?
My district, my constituent management services was in favor of us using all tools, but
What about
I
the
think we should
56%
file
of-
Excuse me.
an amendment
Something.
to do her concerns as making this only for a regular session and not with any special sessions. That might be of consideration to the committee. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Yes, Representative Wilson.
Yes, Ms. Pena. No, that's quite all right. I'd want to leave too. At the end of the day, what you're saying is you do not want to see where a legislator goes off and breaks quorum with the motivation and intent and understanding, well, let's just say understands, just it may be another motivation, that they could prosper significantly by being absent, while at the same time, for example, flood victims aren't getting their debt, their due in terms of the services that they deserve. That's what you're saying. Nothing more, nothing
Absolutely,
less,
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Members, any other questions? All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 18? If not, the chair recognizes Chairman Shaheen to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I close.
Members, any questions? Representative Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, I know we're just got one. Yeah, the time is upon us, and I just want to thank you for bringing this bill. In terms of the fines, what is it again per
It's
incident?
$5,000 per.
$5,000 per incident.
Yes, sir.
Willing to take an amendment since we're talking amendments, raising it to 10,000. Never mind. You don't
I'm
have to
open to
answer
that
that, Mr.
discussion.
Chairman. Thank you very much.
Members, any other questions? All righty, seeing none, then we close. If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and the bill is left pending. Do you want me to jump to this, or? Where's he got it?
All right, thank you, members. That concludes today's agenda. Is there any further business for the committee to address? If not, chair moves to adjourn. Is there objection? Hearing none, the House Committee on Elections stand adjourned, subject to the call of the chair.